Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a new release from the redoubtable Hilary Hahn on Deutsche Grammophon. Believe it or not, yes, they do make serious classical recordings once in a while. And this one contains three completely disparate works: Dvořák's Violin Concerto, Ginastera's Violin Concerto, which is absolutely marvelous because nobody records it because it's virtually impossible to play, and Sarasate's Carmen Fantasy. So that's like, three very, very different pieces, and that's a very full CD. It's 77 minutes and 30 seconds. Hilary Hahn is accompanied by the Frankfurt Radio Symphony under Andrés Orozco-Estrada. And as usual these days, we have to have a booklet note written by the artist. Why, oh, why do they do that? They have to be like, it's hard enough for them to do their thing, like play their instrument, but they're also supposed to tell us about playing their instrument. This is one of the better booklet notes written by an artist, because this whole production was done sort of in and around the COVID pandemic. And Hilary Hahn writes very movingly about how, sometimes she takes a sabbatical to be with her family. She has 2 kids now. And sometimes she needs to recharge her batteries, and how she had to get back to playing again after being sidelined unintentionally for such a long period. It's actually a very thoughtful and moving piece. It's really very, very nice. Now, the purpose of these essays, of course, is to bring us closer to the artist. Now, I couldn't care less about the artist, frankly. I really don't. I care about the music. I care about the works. I'd like to know more about them. I have no problem if the artist has something like really insightful to say about it, that they talk about the music somewhat. I mean, she does sort of kind of talk about the music a little bit, but not in any sort of factual or historically interesting way. Otherwise, it's just a me essay. And I'm not interested in me essays. Artists as people interest me not at all. They really don't. Even one as great as Hilary Hahn, and she's a marvelous artist. But, I don't give a damn about her personal life. I don't care about her kids. I don't care about, her personal needs, however well written it is. And it's very well written. So I'm just throwing that out there. The other thing about this that just blows my mind is the absolute necessity for a stupid title. So if you're going to have the Dvorak Violin Concerto, the Ginastera Violin Concerto, and the Sarasate Carmen Fantasy, what do you think you should call such a production? Well, they call it Eclipse. I guess it's better than calling it Nebula. What has that got to do with anything? I have no idea. Let's talk about the performances, shall we? This is just the classical music industry today. Thank God they made this. Thank God there's still a CD. Thank God Hilary Hahn was still able to get it all together, because this is, by and large, an excellent, excellent disc for the most part. The weakest thing on here is probably, one of the most popular, the largest work, the Dvorak. And it's not weak in like a bad kind of way. It's just not the most interesting performance for a couple of reasons. First of all, over the past couple of decades, the Dvorak Violin Concerto has finally found its niche in the repertoire, and so everybody's doing it. And there have been marvelous, marvelous performances of the Dvorak Violin Concerto. This particular one is pretty good. It really is. It's just that the first movement is a little bit slack, just a bit. The slow movement, the central slow movement, is gorgeous. Drop dead gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Perfectly paced, I think. I think if the first movement had been just a little bit crisper and a little bit more intense, we would have had a really great Dvorak Violin Concerto. But as it is, part of the problem, I think, is Estrada, who I don't find the most interesting conductor. Hilary has wonderful things to say about him, of course, and it's good for her. I'm glad they got along. All I can tell you is that he's just a little bit on the light side. However, they come together very, very effectively also in the finale. And the finale is usually the movement that's sort of the toughest to bring off. And this is not the quickest, most rhythmic account of the finale, but it is beautifully played and shaped, and the accompaniment is very sensitively done, so that you really hear her without having to strain. You really hear the violin part. And when the orchestra jumps in, it sounds nicely rambunctious and firmly rhythmic. If only they'd done that in the first movement, we would I would not be complaining at all. But as it is, it's a very good Dvorak violin concerto. I mean, nobody is going to, I think, be bitterly complaining about it. Next, we've got Ginastera. Oh my goodness! Now, the Ginastera concerto is one of his wildest expressionistic, quasi-folk, quasi-hallucinatory nightmare pieces. It's a scary piece of music. It really is. It's fascinating. It really is marvelous work. It starts with a series of etudes, actually. It's a big, long solo violin cadenza, kind of like Ravel's Tzigana, only atonal and on some sort of unbelievably hallucinatory medication. And then there's a bunch of etudes of extraordinarily technical difficulty, all of which, are being performed in an emotional climate of the utmost horror, practically. It's very exciting. It's dazzling and disturbing and full of weird noises. Oh, I love it. Then there's an adagio for 22 players and the soloist. It's a brief adagio and the finale. And the finale is a scherzo. Well, let me just give you the actual designation here because it's lots of fun. Let's see. By the way, Madame Hahn doesn't talk about why this is called Eclipse. Smart lady. Really a very smart lady. Wait a minute, that's not... Where is this thing? That's the booklet. That's the thing. Oh, here it is. Okay, here we go. There we go. So, yes, the Adagio for 22 soloists. And then there's a scherzo and perpetuum mobile. Now, the scherzo is marked pianissimo, sempre volante, misterioso e appena sensibile. That's scarcely perceptible. And it's just twitters and clicks and flutters. And it's great horror movie music, really. And then the perpetual motion finale, which is agitato ed allucinante. It's agitated and hallucinatory. And you get where it's going. Oh, boy, what a piece of music. I mean, this makes it worth buying the disc. It really does, because it's not like there's much competition at all in this concerto. And even if there were, it wouldn't be this good. So, I mean, congratulations to Hilary Hahn for learning the bloody thing and carrying it off with such aplomb. Because there's definitely aplomb. Then we've got the Carmen Fantasy, which... it's the Carmen Fantasy, which even Hilary Hahn was remarked in her booklet. It's like, I was amazed. I haven't played this before. Well, she does. And she does it extremely well. But everybody does it extremely well. I mean, how do you blow the Carmen Fantasy? The tunes are so marvelous. It's just an incredible, delicious work, and rather a substantial one too. Actually, I mean, it's in several movements, and it's kind of hefty and serious, actually, even though it's a virtuoso firework display piece. So whatever that Eclipse had to do with anything, I have no clue. But for the Ginastera and the Sarasate, this is marvelous. The Dvorak is by no means negligible. Others may feel more strongly about it than I do in terms of its success as a performance of the work. And it's great to have Hilary Hahn back and in such an enterprising and interesting production. It really, really is. I can't wait to hear the sequel after Eclipse. I mean, what are we going to get? Nova, maybe? Who knows? We'll see. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.